The dispensary shrine reeks of boiled antiseptic and tallow smoke. Behind reinforced plexiglass, a hospitaller weighs 2 freshly extracted molars on brass scales, blood still seeping from the mother's gums. The teeth clink against metal like coins. Ration chits follow. 3 weeks of protein allocation sliding across a counter carved from munitions crates and draped with stained linen. The exchange takes 47 seconds. Her child coughs blood throughout. The hospitaller selects a thumb-length ampoule from identical rows, its amber contents viscous and still. Red wax drips from a heated signet as she presses the purity seal, murmuring the litany of antisepsis. By this mark, purity is verified. By this seal, sanctity is preserved. The ritual completes with an Aquila impression and a string of numerals. 8.33 Kappa, batch 7741M, allocation series Tertius Minor. Not a cure, a permission. In the Imperium, medicine is not bought, it is assigned. She has purchased legitimacy, bureaucratic sanction to hope, institutional acknowledgement that her child's survival serves calculable imperial purpose. Price is doctrine. A vial is a verdict rendered by offices that do not bleed. Follow the supply chain upstream. Active compounds synthesized in forge creches, where servitor-tended vats process formulae derived from fragmentary standard template constructs. Tech priests bless molecular structures at ministorum fonts lined with oxidized silver, chanting the canticle of pure compounds. Administratum scribes count every unit in ledgers thick as tombstones, calculating allocation quotas against productivity indices. The munitorum marks margins for campaign exigency, portions diverted before civilian distribution. Each hand adds ritual. Each ritual adds delay. The purity seal contains more than authentication. Serial codes tie doses to allocation ledgers citizens never see. Chit-black triage cards categorize worth through productivity assessments and confession compliance scores. Severance Protocol 44 Theta exists for outbreak scenarios, pre-certified frameworks for emergency population management through bulkhead sealing and atmospheric rerouting. 2 places back, a factory supervisor presses fingers under his sternum, counting breaths like quotas. His Chit-Black 7 classification grants analgesic access, but curative treatments require productivity assessments he cannot risk. Sweat beads despite the Hab block's perpetual chill. Behind him, a veteran examines synthetic fingers meeting scarred flesh. His augmetic knee ticks out of time. 3 weeks until Mechanicus maintenance, too long without risking servitorization. The mother turns her vial in trembling fingers. The wax seal's edge catches skin as she traces stamped numerals, familiar patterns, unreadable meanings, contents unknown, efficacy uncertain, but sanctioned through proper channels, suffering acknowledged by competent authority, death postponed through liturgical transaction. She-Sitor pockets the ampoule and moves toward the shrine's exit, passing beneath stained glass, depicting the Emperor's mercy flowing like golden streams toward kneeling supplicants. The queue continues its patient shuffle, each citizen carrying currencies of flesh and faith, desperate mathematics of survival in a galaxy where medicine constitutes not market commodity, but verdict rendered by competing bureaucracies. The seal says live, for now. Who chose its contents, and at what ledger's demand, determines everything that follows. The Adeptus Mechanicus biologist maintains the Pharmacopoeia Index in red-lit vaults beneath forge spires. 847 approved pharmaceutical formulae across 17,000 imperial worlds, each recipe traced to fragmentary STC data and blessed by Tech Dominus authority. From these scroll stacks of sanctioned compounds, planetary quotas descend like weather patterns, calculated, inevitable, and utterly indifferent to individual suffering. The numbers appear merciful. They are logistics. Medical pricing operates through imperial calculus rather than market forces. 3 variables determine access: work value assessments, pulled from manufactorum punch slates, measuring output per body and faults per hour. Confession compliance scores collected by ministorum observers, tracking attendance, tithe punctuality, and orthodoxy variance. Strategic resource priorities defined by munitorum campaign requirements and predicted casualty bands. These inputs fold together into a citizen's medical worth, a ratio of usefulness to imperial risk. The mathematics are precise and merciless. Guard regiments receive 4.7 curative doses per soldier per month. Naval ratings get 2.3. PDF forces merit 0.9. Civilian allocations follow productivity matrices. A factory supervisor maintaining 97% shift attendance earns Chit Black 7 status, granting analgesic access and sedative privileges. A Hab mother with 3 productive offspring rates. Chit Black 9, emergency stabilization only. Statistical reality translates to systematic deprivation. The average Hive citizen receives 0.8 curative doses per 1,000 per week. Analgesic allocation runs 12 times higher, 9.6 doses per 1,000, reflecting doctrinal preference for pain management over genuine healing. A reliable 27% of manufactured compounds disappears into campaign exigency diversions before reaching civilian distribution. The ledgers call it preemption. The Qs know it as theft. Enforcement makes this fiction durable through overlapping jurisdictions. Adeptus Arbites conduct seal verification audits, field vox units comparing codes to shipment manifests, where red ink discrepancies end in confiscation or exemplary beatings. Commissariat observers monitor for malingering. Workers who shop symptoms to secure unauthorized stoppages. Administratum clerks, the quiet sovereigns of allocation, compute productivity ratios that throttle or release future medical access. When output falls, curatives, shrink and analgesics expand. Purity seals carry taxonomic information invisible to recipients. Series 1.11 Alpha designates genuine curative compounds with verified molecular efficacy. Series 4.22 Beta indicates analgesic preparations with minor psychoactive components. Series 8.23 Kappa, the designation pressed into the mother's wax seal, represents morale maintenance compounds formulated to provide psychological rather than pharmaceutical relief, visually identical to treatment vials, ritually indistinguishable from blessed medicine, chemically inert beyond placebo mechanisms and mild sedative properties. The mother paid teeth and rations for institutional acknowledgement that her child's suffering warranted bureaucratic attention. She received hope in amber glass, blessed water, trace analgesics, liturgical oils, no antipathogen agents, no immune system enhancement, no molecular intervention addressing respiratory deterioration. Scarcity persists even on worlds with synthesis capability because doctrine demands it rather than production limitations dictating it. Forge-adjacent worlds brew compounds in volume, yet Hab stacks run dry because munitorum edicts prioritize regimental readiness over civilian welfare. The sick provide labor. The desperate provide compliance. The dying provide examples. Why must morale compounds masquerade as medicine? Who holds authority to trigger diversions that starve the shelves? To answer, we leave ledgers and enter the distribution network, markets of mercy, where queues harden into bargaining, and scarcity becomes daily currency. Between illness and relief stretch 5 doors, each demanding different currencies of flesh and faith. The factory supervisor maps this landscape as his chest constricts, a human invoice seeking bureaucratic approval while his body counts down to collapse. Ministorum shrine hospitals occupy converted storage bays, draped in crimson cloth, where indulgences purchase tinctures through liturgical transaction. 30 minutes of kneeling on grit-scabbed stone earns antiseptic access. Full catechism recitation unlocks saline solutions, blessed by hospitalers, chanting the litany of healing waters. The supervisor watches penitents prostrate themselves on cold metal flooring, counting Hail Emperors like currency, while fever shakes their frames. Time becomes tender. Devotion becomes dosage. The Mechanicus Pharmaciae requires labor pledges and machine oath signatures, binding recipients to future service. Assembly shifts exchanged for synthetic compounds. Tech adepts dispense medications through servo-skull delivery systems while intoning molecular purity canticles. The supervisor hesitates at their threshold, knowing signatures bind him to Mechanicus' oversight of factory duties. His chest pain spikes. He moves on. Civic medici accept ration chits through reinforced windows, staffed by tired clerks weighing food against healing with practiced indifference. The supervisor calculates. 3 weeks protein allocation might secure analgesics, but his symptoms suggest something requiring genuine intervention. His Chit Black 7 status grants analgesic access, yet curative treatments demand productivity assessments he cannot risk. Guild chemists operate behind shuttered storefronts, marked only by caduceus and cog sigils, trading flesh debt and future labor, while charging interest in blood samples and tissue harvests. Through cracked doorways, the supervisor glimpses ledgers, names written in red ink beside anatomical diagrams, marking collateral organs. Black market vendors cluster in maintenance tunnels, selling unsealed ampules from coat pockets lined with foam padding. No rituals, no classifications, no guarantees. The supervisor studies their wares, amber liquids in unmarked vials, some bearing suspicious seal impressions that scratch away under fingernail pressure. Queuing itself functions as payment across all venues. Standing time earns consideration. Kneeling time demonstrates worthiness. Recitation time proves orthodoxy. The supervisor joins the civic medicae line, watching citizens perform subtle genuflections while clutching ration booklets like prayer texts. The triage system operates through cruel mathematics. His Chit Black 7 grants analgesic privileges, but citizens bearing Chit Black 9 classifications, unproductive mothers, aging laborers, disabled veterans, receive sedative-only treatment through the numb needle protocol. A single injection induces 40 days of compliance stupor while prohibiting interaction with curative compounds. The supervisor watches a trembling woman accept the numb needle rather than return empty-handed to her sick child. At the shrine hospital, blessed water vials appear identical to legitimate medications. Same amber glass, same volume measurements, same liturgical presentation. Only edge-scraping tests reveal authenticity. Genuine seals resist fingernail pressure, while counterfeits flake away in waxy fragments. The supervisor's symptoms worsen as he calculates currencies he can afford against treatments he requires. Each venue demands different sacrifices: time, labor, flesh, faith. His chest constricts while he weighs options, understanding that choosing wrong means choosing twice. The veteran's augmetic knee clicks out of rhythm as he ascends forge shrine steps, synthetic joint grinding against bone, while servomotors whine through damaged housing. 3 weeks until total failure. In the Mechanicus Pharmacia, illness represents software fault. Treatment means replacement. Tech priests maintain a fundamental doctrine. Flesh is obsolete substrate, requiring correction through sacred steel. Organic medicine constitutes primitive inefficiency, variables, decay, unpredictable outcomes. Why treat infection when amputation and cybernetic installation eliminate weakness permanently? The forge shrine's walls display anatomical diagrams, marking optimal severance points and replacement protocols. Bone becomes mounting hardware. Blood becomes coolant analogy. Pain becomes diagnostic feedback. The religious dimension transforms medical necessity into spiritual purification. Augmetic enhancement represents communion with the machine god, each replaced organ, bringing recipients closer to divine mechanical perfection. Organic weakness becomes moral failing, evidence of insufficient faith in the Omnissiah's design. The veteran approaches an altar bearing the cog and skull, while servo skulls drift overhead, their optic lenses mapping wear patterns on chrome and flesh. Economic logic enforces theological preference. Mechanical parts emerge from catalogued patterns, manufactured by auto fabricators in predictable batches. A gamma industrial knee joint requires steel, rubber, sacred unguents, then 20 minutes of alignment ritual. Biological healing demands individual attention, expensive compounds, cold chain storage, diagnostician time. 10 prosthetic limbs equal monthly production cost of targeted anti-pathogen treatments. Ritual requirements structure access to Mechanicus mercy. The veteran recites the machine oath before a tech priest, whose mechadendrites extend Auspex scanners. From the weakness of the flesh, machine god preserve us. I pledge my form to the Omnissiah's perfection. Productivity verification follows. Work records, efficiency ratings, manufacturing quotas downloaded through neural interface. Flesh weakness confession completes the process. Inventory of organic failures, maintenance lapses, moments of doubt regarding cybernetic enhancement. The classification system determines augmetic quality through brutal assessment. Alpha strategic recipients, command personnel, skilled tech workers receive sophisticated cybernetics with adaptive systems and self-repair capabilities. Beta militant classifications merit functional prosthetics with standard maintenance cycles. Gamma industrial status grants crude replacements rated for basic labor. Delta remedial subjects face minimal intervention, pain management through mechanical bracing. Epsilon servitor designation eliminates choice entirely. Lobotomization followed by hard-wired mechanical integration for menial tasks. Augmetic recipients become permanently dependent on Mechanicus maintenance through engineered necessity. Skip scheduled service intervals, and cybernetics fail catastrophically. Attempt unauthorized repairs, and machine spirits rebel through logic lock protocols. Each upgrade requires sacred unguents every 21 days, torque alignment every 100 operating hours, periodic firmware blessing. The clinic holds the keys. The body becomes contract renewed through liturgy and payment. The veteran's file displays Gamma industrial status following productivity decline caused by his failing augmetics, circular trap, where mechanical failure reduces work capacity, reducing classification status, reducing access to quality replacements. Tech priest approaches with blessed oils, preparing flesh for mechanical communion while calculating maintenance schedules that will bind him to forge shrine service until death or servitorization. The Imperial Pharmacopoeia Index occupies 17 volumes bound in human leather, cataloguing the legal boundaries of healing across 10,000 worlds. 61,000 sanctioned compounds bear official blessing, formulae derived from fragmentary standard template constructs and blessed by Tech Dominus authority. 14,000 prescribed substances carry death sentences for possession, synthesis, or distribution. 5,000 unknown formulations await tech heresy investigation by Mechanicus tribunals that operate beyond Arbeit's jurisdiction. Home synthesis constitutes criminal activity under Edict Medicae 7741 Tertius. Recipe knowledge represents sacred STC fragments belonging to the Omnissiah. Unauthorized possession trespasses on divine mechanical mysteries. A grandmother brewing willow bark tea commits the same category of heresy as rogue traders trafficking xenotech stimulants. Intent matters less than precedent. Arbeit's enforcement raids target HereTech kitchens through chemical trace detection and informant networks. The door goes down under shock ram impact, boots on metal flooring. A pressure still hisses in a laundry alcove while recycler tubing snakes into jam jars. Evidence tags bite into glass as edge-scraping tests shear wax from counterfeit seals. The woman's child rides to the shrine for proper triage. She rides in a different transport. Ministorum trials prosecute unauthorized healing as theft of grace. Defendants kneel on iron grills warmed from furnaces below, while confessors weigh medical efficacy against doctrinal purity. Successful treatment becomes evidence of heretical knowledge. How else could untrained citizens achieve results matching sanctioned compounds? Sentences range from penance escalation to poeric cleansing. Severance Protocol 44 Theta represents emergency powers transcending normal legal frameworks. The text grants sweeping intervention. Upon declaration by competent authority, affected zones shall be sealed through bulkhead activation and atmospheric rerouting. Civilian populations within designated areas are pre-certified as acceptable losses for campaign preservation. Protocol activation requires only undefined, competent authority declaration. No appeals process, no civilian consultation. Critical provisions follow the seal. Upon 44 Theta declaration, Munitorum acquires plenary authority to redirect all medical shipments planet-wide within 3 hours, relabeling civilian allocations as campaign critical morale stores while conscripting dispensary staff for military triage. Quarantine becomes siege. Medical aid becomes military asset. Citizens become acceptable losses through bureaucratic pre-certification. The index itself strains under pressure. Recent sample vials arrive bearing unknown classifications, compounds that resist standard analysis and challenge existing treatment protocols. Magos reports mention non-conforming molecular structures. Arbeit's chatter assigns designation codes. The substances exist outside legal framework, creating enforcement paradox. Unlisted pathogens cannot be legally treated through sanctioned methods. Where law constricts, markets expand. When 44 Theta redirects shipments and seal verifiers prowl habstacks, Guild chemists extend credit and write debts in blood. The body becomes collateral, doses become liens against future flesh. Behind corrugated shutters marked with fading caduceus and cog sigils, guild chemists maintain dose books bound in stitched hide. Each page divides into 3 columns: blood, labor, flesh, indexed by name, hab block, and debt severity. The factory supervisor presses his thumb to parchment. The chemist weighs the crimson bead like currency, calculating compound interest in hemoglobin and muscle hours. Guild operations stretch sanctioned supplies through systematic dilution. Servo-skull dispensers measure compounds to the microgram, while neutral carriers, saline solutions, blessed oils, reclaimed glycerin from coolant loops, transform single doses into profitable portions. 1 legitimate ampoule becomes 4 guild treatments through careful chemistry and liturgical presentation. Customers purchase temporal relief rather than permanent cures, ensuring repeat business through managed dependency. The guild sells survival in installments. Interest structures compound through physical mechanisms designed to harvest human resources. Missed payments escalate from currency to corpse guild service, 40 labor hours sorting biological matter in rendering facilities where human remains become industrial unguents, bone meal fertilizer, and saint's oil for religious ceremonies. Severe debtors face tissue harvesting, kidney samples, bone marrow extraction, reproductive cells stored in cryovaults for future collection. The Corpse Guild operates processing centers beneath shrine hospitals, where workers in rebreather masks feed organic waste into rendering vats, while servo-skulls sort tissue by utility classification. Nothing is wasted in this economy. Death feeds industry. Corpses render into lubricants for manufacturing machinery. Bone paste shores, structural seals. Hair becomes filtration mats. The choicest drippings, amber, fragrant, bottle as saint's oil for ministorum rites. The faithful anoint purity, seals without questioning where sanctity begins. The cycle completes itself. Pain into debt, debt into flesh, flesh into oil, oil into hope. Black market vendors cluster near guild storefronts, hawking unsealed ampoules and vials bearing suspiciously clean seals, wax edges sharp as hab razors, numerals crisp to specification. The supervisor scrapes one with a fingernail. The impression holds under pressure, revealing legitimate wax composition. The code reads 8.33 Kappa. He recognizes the designation from the mother's legitimate vial at the shrine dispensary. Authenticity collapses when state and street share identical taxonomies for morale maintenance. The guild chemist offers calculated mercy, diluted analgesics, breathies tinctures, and blue relief tablets to suppress panic responses. Price: 3 weeks protein allocation, 20 corpse guild hours, and collateral clauses binding future tissue to recovery of value should death occur before repayment. The contract bears ecclesiarchy counter-signatures. Mercy requires notarization. His chest constricts as he calculates options. Civic Medicaid promises numb needle sedation and 40-day exclusion from curative lotteries. Mechanicus doors demand oaths, binding him to machine service cycles he cannot meet. The guild offers air today and leashes tomorrow. He signs. The injection bites like winter. Warmth spreads, pain recedes to workable background hum. Departing, he pauses beside crates stamped with familiar seals, 8.33 Kappa series, wax glossy with saint's oil. The chemist notices his stare and shrugs. Same rivers, different banks. Above, klaxons wail as quarantine sirens layer into emergency harmonics. Bulkhead lights shift from sallow to crimson. The guild clerk drags shutters down until only payment slots remain. Severance Protocol 44 Theta activates. The ledgers prepare to balance. Sirens wail in overlapping harmonics as emergency klaxons layer over ventilation alerts, the sound cleaving through Habstack Hadron's perpetual industrial hum. Bulkhead warning chimes count down from 60, while citizens freeze mid-shuffle in the Shrine Hospital queue. Massive blast doors grind closed with hydraulic finality, sealing the Habstack from the rest of the mid-hive. Queue lines become pens. The Vox repeats with mechanical calm. Severance Protocol 44 Theta enacted. Remain compliant. Arbite squads deploy through sealed airlocks, rebreather gear hissing as they advance with wax pots swinging from belt hooks. Green stamps mark sealed areas requiring atmospheric monitoring. Yellow designates observation zones. Black marks burn areas. Sections pre-certified for promethium cleansing should containment fail. An Arbite's trooper presses black wax beside the shrine entrance, while the mother clutches her child tighter. Watching fate painted on ferrocrete walls, hospitalers spread through trapped crowds, performing corridor triage with Auspex scanners that beep faster near infected citizens. They recite the prayer of necessary fire as they work. By flame we cleanse, by fire we preserve, by burning we sanctify. Red-robed figures sort citizens into groups, green tags for uninfected, yellow for monitoring, black for terminal cases requiring only comfort sedation. The scanners detect pathogen loads with chilling precision. Munitorum couriers arrive at a trot through emergency locks, bearing parchment writs stamped with 44 Theta authorization. They commandeer medical crates from the Shrine Dispensary, redirecting civilian supplies to spaceport departure for frontline deployment. Campaign exigency supersedes local allocation, the lead courier announces, while servo skulls lift pharmaceutical containers. A hospitaler protests, palm pressed to a crate stenciled Medica. The courier presents countersign. She removes her hand. The shrine's medical stores vanish within minutes. In the brutal crush of bodies, the mother's precious vial slips from trembling fingers and shatters against metal flooring. Amber liquid mixing with blood from other casualties. A black market vendor materializes from the chaos, coat lining of foam cradling identical ampules. He offers replacement medicine, bearing familiar numerals, 8.33 Kappa. Your wedding ring, he whispers. She strips gold from her finger without hesitation, trading the last artifact of life before the hive for sanctioned hope. Ventilation systems activate with mechanical thunder, but something goes wrong. Instead of clearing contaminated air, the systems reverse, blowing fine spores into the shrine chapel, where citizens huddle beneath stained glass, depicting imperial mercy. Greenish motes drift through incense smoke, while emergency lighting casts everything in hellish crimson. The contamination spreads visibly as panic metastasizes faster than pathogen. The crowd surges toward sealed exits. Arbites deploy shock mauls against pressing bodies, electric discharge crackling through rebreather filters. Citizens scream and fall in the crush. A child disappears beneath adult legs, small hands reaching upward before the press swallows them completely. The mother screams her daughter's name into chaos that devours sound. A hospitaler approaches a coughing foreman, whose productivity jacket marks him as essential personnel. Rather than treatment, she administers numb needle sedation to prevent panic contagion. The injection bites like winter. He slumps into chemical compliance, eyes glazing as 40-day stupor begins, order through chemistry, peace through paralysis. The veteran, pressed into service as medical orderly, despite lacking training, helps load crates onto Munitorum transports. Through torn shipping labels, he glimpses text that reframes everything. Medica Morale, 8.33 Kappa. Non-curative maintenance, diverted to campaign stores. The medical supplies being redirected from civilian care bear the same designation as the mother's shrine-dispensed vial. Morale compounds masquerading as medicine, diverted from citizens who never possessed genuine treatment. Quarantine reveals its true function: population management through controlled abandonment. Citizens trapped within sealed zones receive sedation rather than treatment, compliance rather than cure. The protocols preserve order while resources flow toward imperial priorities that exclude civilian survival. Above the chaos, servo skulls record casualty estimates for administratum filing. The ledgers balance through subtraction. Bulkheads grind open in stages as corpse guild teams deploy with data slates and body counters, the air still carrying metallic fear tang and something sweeter: decay beginning its work. They move with practiced efficiency. Tag, lift, drain, record. 57 crush casualties, 43 pathogen deaths. Names become slate entries, while servo skulls hover, counting lips that will never pray again. The arithmetic of survival begins before the dead finish cooling. Administratum clorks arrive with portable cogitators, recalculating productivity losses against remaining workforce capacity. Habstack Hadron's manufacturing quotas require adjustment following personnel reduction. Petitions to Schola Progenium request replacement labor allocations, orphans and penal conscripts to fill production gaps. The ledgers balance through systematic subtraction, while human resources become renewable through institutional machinery. Hospitalers perform mass unction in the shrine corridor, thumbs pressing sacred oils to foreheads in endless procession. Survivors receive mandatory inoculations through servo-skull delivery systems, not for biological pathogens, but for psychological compliance. The injections induce loyalty phrase-chanting behaviors that occupy mental capacity previously devoted to grief or rage. Within minutes, voices rise in synchronized rhythm. The Emperor protects, the Emperor provides. Trauma becomes liturgy through chemical intervention. The mother cradles her child on a recovery cot, watching blood-flecked coughs expel microscopic wax fragments from the crushed seal. The replacement vial, purchased during chaos, bears identical 8.33 Kappa designation, morale compound, masquerading as medicine, while respiratory tissue suffers secondary complications. Her daughter wheezes through damaged airways as debt collectors arrive bearing guild ledgers, demanding payment for emergency treatment. The wedding ring covered transaction costs, but interest accumulates through survival itself. They offer tissue harvesting schedules to settle accounts, bone marrow extraction, organ sampling, reproductive cell storage against future flesh. Post-crisis investigation reveals systematic design rather than institutional failure. Medical shipments designated as curative were indeed diverted per 44 Theta protocols, leaving civilians with morale compounds and sedatives, while genuine treatments departed for frontline deployment. The veteran sorts empty crates labeled Medica Morale 8.33 Kappa, non-curative maintenance, diverted, confirming that citizens purchased hope through ritual transaction, while effective medicine served military priorities. The factory supervisor's hidden illness was exposed during crisis screening. downgrading his chit black classification from 7 to 9. Future medical priority ratings reflect this change. Analgesic access revoked, curative exclusion confirmed, sedative-only protocols implemented. His guild debt compounds through reduced earning capacity, while chest pains intensify without relief. The system punishes illness through systematic abandonment. Numb needle recipients face 40-day exclusion from curative lotteries due to interaction protocols preventing pharmaceutical combinations. The sedated foreman joins 66 others, marked with chemical compliance tags, their stupor protecting them from despair while denying access to genuine treatment. The protocols preserve order through induced helplessness. Peace through paralysis becomes policy through procedure. Corpse Guild carts squeal away, laden with biological resources destined for rendering vats and saints' oil production. The accounting completes, casualties converted to data points, survivors processed through compliance protocols, medical resources redirected per doctrinal priorities. The crisis served its function, population management through controlled abandonment while preserving institutional order. Policy architecture emerges through sealed testimonies archived beneath administratum towers, where prefects speak with clinical precision about human mathematics. Curative compounds flow to locations demonstrating measurable combat effectiveness enhancement, states Prefect Majoris Valdron, his data slate casting pale light across productivity charts. Civilian sedation maintains workforce stability through controlled pacification. A healed back that deserts proves less valuable than a pained back that returns to shift. The Magos biologists concur through Vox Grill testimony. Organic healing represents resource inefficiency, requiring individual attention and expensive compounds. Standardized palliation preserves maximum output per allocated dram. Healthy civilians complicate production matrices through unpredictable behavioral variables. Their calculations prioritize mechanical predictability over biological wellness. Sedated workers maintain consistent throughput, while healthy populations develop inconvenient aspirations. Commissariat training materials formalize this logic through stark mathematics. Panic spreads exponentially. Stupor remains localized. Controlled morbidity prevents resistance development while preserving labor compliance through managed dependency. Charts demonstrate riot incidents dropping 67% in HAB blocks receiving morale compounds for 90-day periods. Fear breeds organization, pain breeds distraction, chemical compliance breeds neither. Enter Starch Fort 17, the ubiquitous ration additive distributed through soup cauldrons and protein bricks across Imperial worlds. It prevents nutrient deficiency while inducing subtle endocrine suppression, blunted aggression responses, reduced fertility, enhanced docility. Side effects require management through supplemental packets distributed at workstations, obtainable only via consistent productivity compliance. Misquoters lose supplements, face hormonal cascade leading to depression and metabolic dysfunction. Dependency functions as governance mechanism. Bodies become contracts renewed through labor. Seal series codes convert doctrine into wax through Munitorum Directive M88217. Series 1.11 Alpha designates genuine curative compounds reserved for military personnel and essential technical staff. Series 4.02 Beta indicates analgesic preparations for civilian labor management. Series 8.33 Kappa represents morale maintenance compounds, placebo formulations with mild sedative properties, designed to provide psychological comfort without addressing underlying pathology. Series 0.01 Epsilon marks pure placebos used in ritual cues to maintain social cohesion. Reframe the Mother's Shrine transaction through this taxonomy. She purchased alignment with institutional machinery rather than health restoration. The ritual, teeth extracted, rations surrendered, liturgical submission, demonstrated acceptance of imperial authority over her child's survival. The 8.33 Kappa vial contained acknowledgement that hope flows through proper channels, that suffering serves systematic purpose, that death requires bureaucratic permission. The factory supervisors guild debt compounds because effective medicine was never available through civilian channels, only sedation, compliance, and managed decline. The veteran witnessed systematic deception through crate labels reading Medica Morale, non-curative maintenance, diverted. Military forces receive genuine treatments, while civilians purchase institutional acknowledgement of suffering through ceremonial transaction. This constitutes the primary reframe. Scarcity represents design rather than failure. The Imperium maintains citizen health at precise levels, sufficient for productivity, insufficient for independence. Too much medicine creates populations capable of resistance. Too little reduces workforce capacity below acceptable minimums. The balance ensures maximum extraction of human resources, while preventing organized opposition through systematic chemical dependency. Imperial medical doctrine adapts to planetary conditions while preserving core principles of managed scarcity and bureaucratic control. Case studies reveal local variations on universal themes of dependency and institutional gatekeeping. Agri-World Verdant Nime cultivates herbal compounds rich in active therapeutic molecules beneath endless emerald canopies. Yet, Ministorum authorities control distribution through tithed grain economics and confession time payments. Citizens kneel on soil-packed shrine floors, trading harvest quotas for willow bark tinctures, while reciting the litany of grateful suffering. Even genuine botanical curatives require agricultural tribute and spiritual submission. Purity seals bear familiar numerals, 4.22 beta for analgesic herbal preparations, 8.33 kappa for blessed oil tinctures providing psychological comfort rather than molecular intervention. Scarcity operates through institutional gatekeeping rather than production limitations. Forge World Ferrum Delta operates biologist-controlled implant maintenance programs where workers receive enhancement tonics, red ferrite for tendon adhesion, blue temper for tremor suppression, improving productivity while binding recipients to mechanicus oversight through chemical dependency. Mismaintenance appointments and classification slides from gamma industrial prosthetics toward delta remedial bracing toward epsilon servitor conversion. Tech priests monitor workforce chemistry through neural implants, adjusting dosages to maintain optimal output. Black market activity faces tech heresy tribunals, where unauthorized healing constitutes theft of sacred knowledge. Even effective medicine becomes control mechanism through engineered addiction. Shrine World Calixis. Prime operates an indulgence-based economy, where relic blood auctions promise miraculous healing through blessed substances. Pilgrims bid life savings for vials containing saints' blood, martyrs' tears, and sacred oils with heavy placebo content, but extraordinary psychological effect. Faith generates measurable pain relief through neurochemical mechanisms, while donation coffers overflow. The shrine economy thrives on hope rather than healing, spiritual commerce, trading, suffering for ceremony. Seal codes recur. 833 Kappa designations on miracle vials despite religious presentation. Across disparate worlds, seal taxonomies maintain mechanical consistency. Verdant Nime herbal compounds, Ferrum Delta enhancement tonics, and Calixis Prime relic blood all bear identical numerical classifications, revealing centralized policy implementation across diverse imperial territories. The method changes, the intent persists, maintaining social cohesion without expending curative resources, where they fail to amplify imperial force projection. Arbites conduct anti-counterfeit operations using deliberately planted fake seals to entrap smugglers and test civilian compliance. Enforcement teams seed markets with identical-appearing vials bearing subtly flawed wax impressions, then arrest citizens failing edge-scraping authentication tests. Sanctioned counterfeiting becomes enforcement tool, state-sponsored deception preventing unauthorized deception, while training populations to accept only officially sanctioned substances. Elite populations illuminate the system through stark exception. Astartes' high-born families and inquisitorial retinues receive genuine curative treatments without queuing or liturgical requirements. Space Marine apothecaries dispense 0.0 or Omega classifications, unrestricted molecular therapies, organ regeneration stimulants, combat enhancement drugs. Noble houses maintain private Medicaid, bypassing civilian allocation systems. Inquisitors carry medical authority, overriding planetary protocols. Their medicine works, wounds close, diseases retreat, bodies heal rather than endure. The ecclesiarchy and Mechanicus frame medical intervention through competing theologies that converge on identical outcomes. Ministorum doctrine presents healing as divine grace flowing through blessed channels, the Emperor's mercy, manifesting in amber vials for faithful supplicants. Mechanicus theology views treatment as correct procedure, sacred formulae derived from STC fragments, achieving predictable biological responses. Both transform medicine from empirical science into religious compliance testing. Hospitalers hold glass to candlelight, reading refractions like scripture while anointing wax seals with saint's oil. The ritual generates measurable neurochemical responses. Endorphin release through liturgical participation, anxiety reduction via community belonging, pain gating through focused prayer rhythms. Heart rates fall. Breathing steadies. The body complies with stories it believes. Magos biologists record identical effects through their chanted instruction litanies, optimized for suggestibility and paced to respiratory cadence. Reliquary miracle vials serve as social cohesion instruments rather than therapeutic agents. Pilgrims who kneel longer report stronger relief. Congregations singing in unison maintain steadier work shifts. Analysis reveals analgesic compounds in trace amounts suspended in blessed oils, enough active ingredients to provide mild relief while maintaining plausible efficacy. The neurochemical effects prove genuine. The pharmaceutical content remains largely irrelevant. The 8.33 Kappa designation represents intentional categorization rather than counterfeit error. Morale compounds distributed through sanctified ritual prevent fear-based social disruption while preserving genuine curatives for military deployment. Administration manuals articulate policy without poetry. Hope stabilizes production quotas. The compound buys silence long enough for targets to clear. Hymns occupy hours when grief might cohere into disobedience. Complete reframe. Hope functions as compliance protocol. Citizens receiving morale compounds maintain workforce participation despite untreated pathology. Psychological relief enables continued labor, while underlying conditions progress unaddressed. The system operates as designed, functional success from institutional perspective, managed decline from medical perspective. Return to the mother months later. The 833 Kappa vial enabled her to stand in work queues the following day, without addressing respiratory infection. She traded her wedding ring not for cure, but for strength to perform obedience another shift. The ritual provided dignity. The substance provided placebo effect. Both served population management rather than individual welfare. Faith purchases endurance rather than healing, with moral costs accumulating like guild interest. Each transaction teaches the lesson. Healing requires permission. Pain serves policy. Mercy demands paperwork. The faithful are not fools. They are exhausted. Refusal risks Chit Black 9 classification. Acceptance keeps analgesic doors ajar and Arbeits indifferent. The spiritual economy operates through engineered scarcity of genuine hope. When miracle vials occasionally contain active compounds, believers attribute improvement to divine intervention rather than pharmaceutical action. Success reinforces system faith. Failure becomes evidence of insufficient devotion requiring greater sacrifice. Forbidden medicine begins where doctrine ends. In Sump-level Hab Block Tertius 7, a heretic clinic operates behind corrugated shutters marked with subtle Xenos sigils. The physician, excommunicated for unauthorized xenobiology research, dispenses anti-spore serum derived from hybrid mycelia cultures that metabolize hive-borne pathogens within hours. Patients rise from cots to shifts within a day. Auspex scans fall to green. Respiratory tissue regenerates with terrifying efficacy. The price arrives 3 months later. Chitinous plates sprouting along collarbones, secondary eyelids developing over dilated pupils, blood tests flagging protein codes absent from the imperial genome. The inquisitorial purge burns the entire Hab block, 127 sanctioned deaths, 8 confirmed heretics, assets cleansed through promethium and ordnance. The cure was genuine, the contamination inevitable. A rogue trader's Medici transport clears orbital inspection under ancient warrant authority, manifests listing devotional candles and agri-tools. Beneath incense padding, pharmaceutical cases rattle with broad-spectrum antivirals, field-grade pneumorestoratives, and limb-knit paste that actually regenerates tissue. General Voss, bleeding men on 2 fronts while facing impossible casualty reduction targets, purchases the lot through regimental intermediaries. Wounded guardsmen recover ahead of schedule. After-action reports list supplies as captured enemy stores. The general receives commendation for efficient resource management. Source questions remain unasked because results supersede methodology in war's crucible. Civilians on the same world queue for 8.33 Kappa compounds in sanctified glass. Captain Mordian of the Adeptus Arbeits studies riot projections beside Manufactorum output charts. Numb needle inventories run low. Wage delays lengthen. Strikes smolder across 3 production sectors. She orders patrols to overlook guild chemist contraband, moving through maintenance tunnels, enough analgesics and stimulants to maintain workforce productivity at acceptable levels. Anti-counterfeit operations pause for calculated periods, while planted fake seals return to evidence storage. Authority hypocrisy functions as pressure release mechanism rather than system failure. bending enforcement to prevent catastrophic breaks in vital production lines. Forensic analysis reveals the deepest compromise: the mother's replacement vial, the 8.33 Kappa ampoule purchased with her wedding ring during quarantine. Chaos traces through wax composition and dye strike signature to Depot Port Gareth, Munitorum stamp die 12 Kappa, batch month 7741M. The black market vendor's stock originated not from counterfeiters, but from sanctioned morale shipments laundered through cutouts, distributed through unofficial channels when official supplies faced campaign exigency diversion. Industrial-scale counterfeiting authored by the state itself, preserving the appearance of providence while managing population compliance through controlled hope distribution. Human costs ledger beneath these quiet compromises. The heretics' patients burn inside their homes, while their mutations serve as cautionary examples. Guard regiments receive effective treatment through command privilege, while their families down Hive endure managed decline. Workers maintain production quotas, while supervisors sink toward sedative-only classifications. The system absorbs suffering through populations permanently excluded from genuine curative access, their pain serving institutional stability, while healing flows upward through imperial hierarchy. Months later, the dispensary shrine remains unchanged. Tallow smoke threading through antiseptic tang, queues shuffling at the speed of institutional mercy. The mother stands where she has stood before, her child's shallow breathing, a persistent metronome marking time between blood-flecked coughs. Her debt book has thickened with guild interest and corpse hall obligations. Her smile reveals fewer teeth, molars extracted for pharmaceutical currency, while respiratory infection burrows deeper into small lungs. The queue inches forward with identical patients. The quiet thesis crystallizes through repetition. Purchasing medicine in the Imperium means buying permission to continue contributing. The transaction includes confession, labor, and docility as standard components alongside any pharmaceutical content. Citizens trade flesh, faith, and future earnings for institutional acknowledgement that their survival serves calculable imperial purpose. The vial contains hope rationed through proper channels, not healing, but bureaucratic sanction to endure another shift. True pricing operates through adeptus terra calculations spanning galactic bureaucracy. Administratum quotas determine civilian medical allocation based on productivity matrices and population management requirements. Munitorum directives redirect supplies toward military priorities while maintaining minimum civilian compliance levels. Mechanicus patents control synthesis technology and formula access through sacred gatekeeping. Ministorum rights sanctify distribution through liturgical requirements. Each office adds institutional levies, administrative fees paid in time, flesh, and obedience. All planted loops close through systematic revelation. Purity seal numerics represent intent taxonomies. 1.11 alpha for genuine curatives reserved for military and elite populations. 4.02 beta for analgesic preparations managing civilian labor. 8.33 kappa for morale compounds, providing psychological comfort without addressing pathology. 0.01 epsilon for pure placebos maintaining ritual compliance. Scarcity persists because it constitutes law rather than failure. Managed dependency, stabilizing production quotas while preserving genuine treatments for imperial force projection. Numb needle sedation purchases compliance at the cost of curative exclusion, binding recipients to 40-day stupor while denying access to effective medicine. Severance Protocol 4. Theta enables systematic diversion of medical supplies from civilian to military allocation within hours of declaration. Miracles were morale protocols throughout, blessed placebos generating neurochemical relief through faith mechanisms rather than pharmaceutical intervention. The same hand holds a new ampoule bearing 4.22 beta designation, analgesic rather than morale compound, a merciful classification downgrade purchased with confession hours and extended shift pledges. Slightly different seal, identical calculus. The ritual repeats, flesh extracted, rations surrendered, liturgy recited, hope dispensed in amber glass. Her child coughs while she counts remaining molars against future need. Procedural whisper of survival rules for those who must endure. Maintain clean cloth for seal inspection. Authenticity testing prevents counterfeit prosecution. Keep wax scraps for edge-scraping verification. Legitimate seals resist fingernail pressure, while fakes flake away. Never accept numb needle when curatives are rumored available. Sedation excludes recipients from treatment lotteries for 40 days. Memorize your HAB blocks classification codes. Chit Black ratings determine access levels. Understand that hope is rationed like any other resource. Spend it where it buys time.